session.
Motion by Mr. Deloach.
Second.
Second by Mr. Floyd to go back to regular session. Reggie?
Oh.
I'm just curious.
Roger?
Let me,
We're waiting on a vote.
I'm waiting on y'all to dismiss. They're waiting on us, so I make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to go back to regular session by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Floyd. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. All right, we have consideration to approve the December 4th, 2018 executive session minutes
so
for
moved.
the appeal hearing, December 4th, 2018.
I make a motion to approve the special appeal meeting as presented.
Minutes and the executive session meetings for the regular meeting.
Yes, minutes and the executive session minutes.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loper. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That carries. And we have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loper to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. We're standing adjourned.
We're adjourned.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. That's fine. I'm just working on it.
I'm going to call to order the Effingham County Board of Commissioners meeting for this December 18, 2018. And the time is 5:02. Everyone, would please rise to the invocation and then you can remain standing for our introduction of our pledge of allegiance to the flag. We're going to lead that tonight and this invocation. Gracious Father, we again are thankful that you are King and that you are God and that you are sovereign and that you rule and that you control. We thank you that you allow us through Christ, our Savior, to participate and make a difference in our community, in our homes, and in our world. And we as a Board of Commissioners and people present tonight, our constituents, we ask for your guidance and your wisdom. Give us discernment as we make decisions that affect so many lives. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Commissioners and guests, tonight we have Ms. Lauren Usher. Lauren, if you could come to the front. She is not here.
She did not arrive.
She did not arrive.
May I lead us in the pledge of
Yes, sir.
allegiance?
Please.
All right, join if you would. I pledge
With allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Got a little bit of a cough. I'll try not to cough into the mic tonight. Disturb everyone. First item on the agenda is the approval of resolution approving the tonight's agenda. Do you have any additions, corrections to the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay, good. I have a motion to approve the
I'll make a
agenda.
motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Keeper to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And we have an agenda. Next item is consideration to approve the minutes of the December 4th, 2018 appeal hearing and the December 4th, 2018 regular commissioners meeting. Do I have any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Floyd to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the minutes are approved. I want to welcome the public tonight. Good to have you here. The agendas have been posted and the backup has been posted in our clerk's office. And hope you got a chance to review if you have a line that you would like to speak to tonight. If you do speak to a particular item, we ask it be an agenda item. You can put things on future agendas if you have other items of issue. But if you can limit your comments to 2 or 3 minutes, that helps others who might want to speak to an item as well. So it's always good to have everyone here to participate in this meeting this evening. We have some presentations. It's a little early, but I see that Atlantic Waste is here. Can we go ahead and start with the presentation from Atlantic Waste that was scheduled 5:15? Okay.
First of all, thank you all for having me tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss with the commission and chairman about the recyclable materials changes that you're seeing with your residential single stream recycling. What has brought us here is we've had a number of complaints and issues. Well, I guess let me step that forward, is we've seen some massive changes as to what is and is not acceptable recycling. And it's a worldwide issue. We have tonight Adrian Osborne, who is our residential manager supervisor. She handles a lot of the calls. She's responsible for the routing. She's responsible for making sure that your routes and trucks and everything is picked up within the county. And then I also have Sandy Martini. She is with Pratt Recycling. She is the recycler in which we haul the material to, and then they are responsible for, collecting, separating, sorting, and reselling the commodities on the open market. So what we do, I'm going to go down the line here, is we are the waste hauler for the county. We collect single stream recycling material from at the curb and then transport them to a local recycling facility, which is Pratt. Pratt then sorts and processes the material according to type. So you've got your papers, you've got your plastics, you've got your aluminum cans, and you used to have glass, but you don't. What am I forgetting, Sandy? Cardboard. All right, so that's a major one, particularly next week. So those are the materials that we accept. And then once it's sorted, these different recyclables become commodities, and they're sold on the open market like anything else, like corn or timber or anything else. And unfortunately, there's been a major change.
It's back up there, it's not up there, so the public can see it.
That's me.
Okay.
I don't know
Oh, sorry.
if it's ready or not.
Okay.
Yes. All right, we're on line item, the once sorted, the number 3 dot. So once sorted and processed, these different recyclable materials become commodities and are sold on the open market. Anyway, the facility can be profitable only if it is making an item out of recycling materials that is cheaper than it is making from scratch. That is mainly what you see, is for these materials to become good materials to be sold and be a viable commodity for Pratt, and for Pratt to then sell it to an end user. They've got to sell it typically cheaper than they can get a virgin product, unless they have a mandate or a company, ordinance or something to say, hey, we want to have a certain percent of recycled, post-consumer recycled material. And it boils down to profit and cost. If Coke could manufacture a brand new bottle for 67 cents versus manufacturing the same soda bottle for more expensive material at 72 cents, the decision becomes clear. Both bottles are adequate packaging for the product, but one is cheaper. And that's typically what you see in recycled material, and Sandy can back this up for me, is that most of the time recycled material as an input is generally actually more expensive, and then it is sometimes not as good of material as a virgin product. So for example, it's not as good, and it costs more. So you have folks that are trying to help the environment by not landfilling, taking the initiative taking the initiative to become more environmentally friendly, but it does come to a cost. And at some point, there are times when there is nobody who wants the product. Well, one of the major demand or people we took our single stream material to was China. China took probably half of the world's single stream material, which was somewhere around, 500 million tons, and now they take none. And so unless it is 99.5%, let's go to the next slide. Oh, sorry. And so now that nobody is taking it, we've become more, we've had to find different outlets for it. And as part of finding those different outlets, some materials that were no longer desirable had to come out of this stream. And one of those is glass, and the second are plastics 3 through 7. And so that's what we've had to do to your single stream recycling here in the county, is that we've had to pull out the glass and the plastics because there was no longer a viable demand that was economically feasible for the county and for Atlantic Waste and for Pratt to continue to offer to recycle those commodities. And so there's been a change, and that change occurred in the county around May and June of this year. So it was not that Atlantic Waste took over the contract in February and said, hey, we just don't want to take this. This is something that was mandated by Pratt, which was then in turn mandated from them because the demand in the economy and in the marketplace. So to kind of get you in perspective, as you've seen, some of you folks have gotten these flyers, and that's this flyer here. It says a guide to what is and is not recyclable within the county, and it talks about loose recyclables, plastics 1 and 2, paper, aluminum cans, metal cans, cardboard, clean pizza boxes, detergent bottles, things that you're used to seeing in recycling, and that makes up about 85% by volume space of the recyclables in your average can. The stuff that was taken out, your glass and your plastics 3 through 7 only made up around 15 to 20% of the what was in the load. So it was a minority. So
What are plastics 3 through 7? I see that. Is that listed on your website?
most of your plastics 3 through 7 are your what I call hard or durable plastics. For instance, Tupperware, PVC pipe, toys. A lot of toys are hard plastics. Sandy, help me out here.
The key is to just turn the bottle over and look at it, because there are so many different composites nowadays, and things are made so differently nowadays compared to a few years ago. You have to really depend on those numbers. But really the key is, if you look for a plastic number 1,
Yeah.
So milk jugs would be...
yes,
Milk jugs are milk jugs.
detergent bottles, peanut butter bottles, all those sorts of bottles, you can turn them over and it'll have the recycling symbol on it, and it'll say 1 or 2. Those are easy. Those are PET or HDPE, if you're familiar with those terms. Those are the particular plastics that are still good in the market and that can still be separated in this stream, and then they can be baled, and then everything works out better. Unfortunately, with these particular items, and I know everyone's received these probably in the mail, it's not easy, I realize that. But in order to make it work right now in this particular market, which is a global phenomenon, it's not something that's just going on in Georgia or South Carolina. This is the way we have to go until it changes, until we find other solutions. So yes, so plastics 1 and 2, those are the keys. 3 through 7, example, like a strawberry container. A lot of times that's like a 5 or a 6.
Solo cups, I think, are 5.
Yes, so a lot of times they're composite materials, and so therefore they don't have any volume or value to them.
And we do not need to put anything in a bag, in a plastic trash bag.
That is correct. Because once it happens, once it gets to them, they've got to bust it open to sort through it, to separate your water bottle from your, aluminum can from your, box or mail or whatever. So save them the time and go ahead. And plus, the trash bag isn't recyclable. So that's the reason for it. So it saves them time and it saves them from having to waste. I've also, we've gotten a couple of different articles, that I've put in a packet that you can read. You can go online now, and if you type recycling, single stream recycling success, this is not, like Sandy said, this is not a Effingham County, a Savannah, a Georgia. They're having problems with this. In California, New York, where all the real heavy recycling people are, that they're having problems. In Seattle, I think Adrian was telling me that they had to incinerate their recyclable material. So it's problematic.
And let me ask you a question. You said that this change in recyclable material is 85% of our volumes gone.
No. 85% of our area is still there. Only 15% is the stuff, which was the glass and the plastics. Okay, so you're still 85% of what is recyclable is getting recycled. Is getting recycled. So there's only 15% because of this change. This is by volume. By weight, it might be 20 to 25% because glass is a little heavier. So by volume, only 15% is not getting recycled that was originally, when we started in February.
And this, I do not know, wish I did, you might help me with this. The original contract, did it stipulate glass and plastics in that number, or did it just say that?
The original contract stated that we needed to have glass and plastics 1 through 7. And then when we started when Steve was here, we were saying, hey, Steve, we've got to take these out, and just wanted to let you know this is coming down the pipe. And he said, hey, if it's not recyclable anymore, it's not recyclable. Now, I think we need to have an amendment to the contract, and Fiona and I met just to clean that up.
Well, I think it's more clean. That's my concern. I'd like the board to consider and look at it, not trying to put something back on Atlantic Waste, but if we have a contract for recycled materials, and we have a price that we agree to pay for those to be taken, and we pass that to our constituents, Atlantic Waste, I would think, would do the due diligence to make sure there's a market for it before they get a price. I'll put this back on you a little bit to say there might need to be more than just a tweak to the contract. There might need to be adjustment to the cost.
Okay.
Because we're not getting the full service that we anticipated, and that should fall back on us because you basically, it gives you price for receiving those items.
It's still being hauled, though, this goes into the trash, correct?
Yes, it goes into the trash. So we've actually incurred a cost. See, it used to be that we weren't getting charged at all, and so we're now that 15% is going into the landfill, which we've now had to incur, a larger cost to dispose of that extra 15% of material by weight or by volume. And so we can sit down and discuss that and look at it, or we can look at one of the things when we were talking with the staff is that if we wanted to put these back in, we could do that. And the contract, I want to say, it talked about we could make changes depending on what was recyclable at the time and what was not. We may be able to put those in, and we'd have to talk with Pratt is to say, hey, here's, if you want to sort through the stuff that isn't recyclable anymore to make it feasible, we can come up with a cost. Now, we've kind of done a little bit of that, and it's rather expensive. It's about $500,000 more per year to sort through that extra 15%.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we're good because we appreciate what you guys have been doing and done a good job, but I just look at the contract, if it's not performing the way it is, then it's not performing. We have to look at that.
Okay.
And see how we can conserve and help our constituents with their costs. And we may find it's just needs tweaking. That'll be my first concern.
Okay.
We're not getting
Well, I can sit down with Chris and we can talk about it. We can talk with Fiona and Finance and Public Works or whoever and we can sit down and say, hey, here are our options that we can, look at, and here's what we can do.
Because the reason I say that is when we did this, you remember you made a joke about it, and it's good when I said, why do we even do recycling? Because it costs us, my constituents, money. And you said, because it's environmentally right thing to do, And so I get that. But here I'm seeing it's right for us to do, but it costs a 5 cent for the industry. They don't want to take up and do the right thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We pass on, I don't know what the cost is per household, but it's not cheap to do recycling.
It's right at about $4 a house.
Yeah, and they can't pick up 5 cents a ton or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm just a little confused on how this is coming back on our constituents, and I don't want it to end tonight. I appreciate it.
Well, it's not costing your constituents any bit more. It's just a little bit more heartburn because of, the global market has changed, And we're having to react to that to make it to where it doesn't cost, $6 or $7 to recycle that extra.
Atlantic Waste and, what's the other big guns in this,
What can we do?
what can y'all do with the government to say, hey, we got 5% so we can make this a single stream and help our environment?
I think that's what Sandy and her team are trying to do around the world, is to try to find a better way to utilize this material. I would love to see everybody somehow use just plastics 1 and 2, and that's it. It's kind of like when everybody kind of want to say, like, remember when you used to have 50 different phone chargers, and then everybody went to 2, and that was nice. So I don't know, maybe they can come up and say, hey, we're going to use 2 phone chargers or 2 plastics. I don't know. But anyway, I appreciate y'all's time, and if y'all have any more questions, please let me know.
Going back to what Commissioner Deloach was talking about with bags. I know it's another step if you have bags, but we put loose things in the trash can and the wind comes along and this paper winds up in another neighborhood. So that creates a kind of a barrier for some people to want to even recycle. Personally, my wife, she wants to use a bag, out there and be done with it.
If I can make a suggestion, it's very simple, and I do this at my home. You have paper bags every once in a while. Put your paper in your paper bags, or if you have smaller cardboard boxes that you're going to recycle, put your paper or whatever loose items, just put them in the cardboard box, close it up, and put it in the dumpster. So it makes it more
back to the
simple.
point of creating more work per household. If you the more work you create for each individual to do, it's going to create a barrier to want to do it in the first place. They just want to just forget it and just put it in the regular trash.
True, but it has also to do with the motive behind it. So if you really want to recycle for the right reasons, then you can take one small extra step to just throw your paper in a box or in a paper bag rather than a plastic bag. So it takes,
You're talking cost and what you can sell and what you can't sell. So what it really boils down to how environmentally conscious you want to be. You still can only sell so many different things.
It's true.
And it comes down to money, really.
I'm gonna say one last thing. When we pro forma the county's contract, we had anticipated a certain amount of recycling, and Effingham being, partially rural and partially urban or suburban, we've actually been very happy with the participation rate. It's been higher than we anticipated. Even after these rule changes, we're still seeing, somewhere around 65 to 70%, and we would, pro forma at around 60. So we're actually higher than we anticipated even after the changes. So the county is recycling, and recycling at a pretty high rate considered its demographic.
So you're saying you're making money, we might get a rebate?
No, they're not offering rebates. So, well, I appreciate it. But thank y'all again, and thank y'all for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ben.
Yes, sir.
And we don't get a lot of phone calls like we used to, so that's all.
I know that's the main thing. I know that this recycling.
Sorry, we're getting you up a little bit, but I want to thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for the good job on the other garbage, for sure.
Well, I'm glad we're picking them up. Y'all can thank Adrian. She does a good job of trying to keep all those guys straight. So
Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here tonight. We have also Georgia Power that is with us tonight. We met with them a couple weeks ago, and I had some questions, and several commissioners had some questions, and they said they would research it for us and get back to us, and so we decided to get for all the commissioners to hear. So I appreciate you introduce yourself tonight to the board again, because in our office we're at the meeting, and appreciate you being here and answering some of those questions we had. And then we'll see if we can get other questions back to the board.
Glad to do it, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, guests. Thank you very much for having me. My name's Wilson Mallard. I'm the Director of Renewable Development at Georgia Power Company. Relatively new department, but we're growing strong. Renewables are growing strong in Georgia and at Georgia Power. And I'm excited to be here tonight to tell you about a solar project that Georgia Power is developing here in Effingham County. And you guys are already early adopters. There's already a number of solar farms here But we're really excited about it. We believe it's going to bring benefits to all of our customers and to the community. It'll help all customers through the total energy supply in Georgia, and I'll show you a chart in just a second that shows how that's changing, but then a lot of local benefits as well. So, we're proud to serve here. Georgia Power is a citizen wherever we serve. We've had a long-standing relationship here in Effingham County. We take seriously our responsibility as a regulated energy provider here in the state to keep rates low, keep reliability high, and to start to change as technologies change, as policies change, and the advent of renewables, and particularly solar, is something that really is impacting the way we do business. We've done business much the same way for 100 years or so, and now things are changing. We're having distributed generation out on the grid, energy being produced all over the state, not just from a few particular resources. So we're excited about it, and I'm excited to give you a few details about this solar project here in Effingham County. If you could go forward one. Let me just brag for just a second about Georgia Power's growth in solar. And I want to tell you guys, we're doing it differently than most states. We don't have a mandate. We don't have any type of goal or RPS. We're not just installing solar or wind or biomass to meet some type of a goal. The costs of these renewable resources have come down such that it makes economic sense to add these to the energy mix now. So it's something that all of us as Georgians can be proud of, and it's something that everybody that's a Georgia Power customer, to be honest, is going to take advantage of, because these solar facilities, the economics work like this. It's a pretty significant upfront cost, the equipment, the land, all that. Then long term, that facility is going to produce energy for 30 or 35 years, really at a fixed rate. It helps bring fuel diversity. It really helps the overall energy mix, and it's something that's good for Georgia. So I know we might look around other parts of the country and see some things that are happening that might not be in the best interest of customers, but I'm telling you, the way that we're doing it, you can be proud of it. It's good for our economy, it's good for the environment, it's good for electricity prices, and it's good for communities. So you guys stay tuned. We do our planning with the Public Service Commission on 3-year cycles. So this solar project, our community solar program that I'll tell you about a little bit more, and all of our entire energy plan gets run through a stakeholder process with the Public Service Commission every 3 years. So all this is out of the 2016 process, and we're hard at work to get ready to file another plan on January 31st of 2019. So that'll be the new roadmap, if you will, and can't tell you any of the details. We're still pulling them together, but you can bet that more renewables, as they're cost effective, will be part of the mix, and as well as energy efficiency, natural gas, all the arrows in the quiver, as we like to say, helps for that diverse mix. You can go to the next slide, please. So let me take just a second to tell you about community solar, because it's a unique program. It's designed a little bit differently. What you see a lot here in middle part of Georgia and on south are really great big solar farms, and I know there's some of those around. Those are the ones that just cover hundreds, if not, we've got one that's going to be over 1,000 acres. You really drive down the economies of scale that get the really low prices. But we're also interested in developing sort of the more small and medium-sized solar facilities, and that's what a community solar facility is all about. This program is optional for our customers, so it allows customers the option to sign up. They're going to get to buy a portion of the output of that facility, if you will. So it's not just something off in the pie in the sky, something they can't think about. They can point to these solar facilities and say, I am supporting that particular solar facility. I know that some of the output of that solar facility I get to claim as offsetting my energy usage. So you can buy a block of the output from the solar facility. The cost right now is $24.99 a month. The credit right now averages out to be about $20 a month, so you're still paying a little bit of a premium right now, but over time that could change. The $25 will be fixed for the life of the project, and as rates go up, that credit that you get back is based on the output of the solar facility, and that can change. So we're trying to spread these out across the state. We've got one that's up and running in the Athens area, and we're developing 2 more, one here in Effingham and another one near Plant Vogel. So we named those facilities after the closest incorporated town nearby. So it's the Comer facility near Athens. This one we're proposed to call the Guyton facility. So
Just a quick question, that fixed cost, if I were to buy that from my residential, it never goes up, there's no maintenance cost added down to capital improvements?
it could go up. Every 3 years, we'll look at it in the course of a rate case, but it shouldn't change very much. We just go year-to-year contracts. You can't lock in for a long term. Believe it or not, there's Securities and Exchange Commission rules that won't let you buy into like a 20-year deal. We'd be subject to, it's almost like an investment for you. So it's just a year-to-year contract, but as I said, all the cost is up front. There's not a whole lot of operations and maintenance as the thing goes on. And as one of our public service commissioners like to say, the fuel is free, and it will continue to be so. Let's go one more step
If
in.
you can hit that slide, if you can hit the, from current slide at the top there, it'll be bigger, we get off my.
Because I'm using a double screen, it's putting it on my laptop. I'm sorry.
So let's just talk about the benefits. If you participate in the program, you get those benefits like I talked about. You get to point to some solar that you can claim the output of. Most homes are really not good candidates to put solar on the roof. There's a couple studies out there, somewhere between only about 40 and 60% of the homes out there are actually good candidates. There's a lot of people that can't. They've got shade, their roof is facing the wrong way, the roof just might not be suitable for it. And then there's others that just don't want to install at their home. It's a pretty long payback still. The cost of those big facilities has come way down. You're still looking at north of about a 10-year payback if you install solar on the roof of your home or business. And just ballpark figures. But a lot of people would, even though they want to support solar, they don't want to make that type of commitment. And that's what community solar can do for them. Allow them to support additional solar without installing it at their own location. So when we design programs, we want them to benefit the people that participate, but just as important, the people that don't participate. And so we stick to those principles pretty good as we work on programs down at the Public Service Commission. So I can confirm to you that this community solar facility and all of our facilities, they help add to an overall diverse generation mix, and they really help everybody with clean, safe, reliable, affordable energy and no upward pressure on rates. So we're looking to drive rates down, not have rates go up. Solar is a good neighbor. It doesn't make noise, it doesn't make smell, it's really good for the town, the town or county that it's located in. It doesn't put a whole lot of drain on your services, provides a good bump to your tax base. So we're excited about this solar project, and glad you guys are as well. Let's go one more. Let me just give some quick details, and then I'll show a map and a picture and see if you guys have any additional questions. So this is a 3.6 megawatt project. Think of a megawatt being the size of a Walmart or something like that. So this is enough power when the sun is shining to power, somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 Walmarts or something in that neighborhood. Now normally you can fit about a megawatt on 5 acres. So you would think with a 3.6 megawatt facility, we could fit that on about 20 acres. You'll see here this is on a 40-acre tract of land, and I'll show you a map in just a second. So there's plenty of buffers around the outside. It's on Highway 17. The closest cross street is Frank W. Dasher Lane. Georgia Power is the long-term owner, and this is our program that we're building this to supply. We use a contractor, United Renewable Energy. They're our partner, and they're the EPC provider here, and then they're using lots of local contractors and laborers as well. So the timeline is we hope to have this thing up and running and producing second quarter of 2019. Once you get going, you can, it's sort of like Legos or Tinker Toys. You can build these solar facilities pretty quickly. So once we get up and going, we hope this thing will be producing sometime in the April or May time frame of 2019. Last one, and here's a couple of pictures, and this is why I couldn't email it, Stephanie. These were taking up so much space. We had a drone fly over and take a picture just a few days ago. So that's the picture. On the left, you orient, there's Highway 17. You can see the silt fencing is already gone up. I just want to confirm to you that Georgia Power, as I mentioned, we're a citizen wherever we serve. We want to be good environmental stewards. We want to go through all the proper environmental procedures here. We're going to make sure that we take care of the land and we take care of the communities that we serve. So I can confirm to you that we're doing that. We're following all the accepted practices on solar development here. We do want to be a good neighbor. You can see on the picture on the right, there's some additional buffer around the edge in yellow that you'll see. That was some added buffer. There's some, the land adjacent there is used for hunting, so we wanted to add a little bit more buffer even than what's normally required or normal course of action there. So, y'all, I just again want to say we're excited about it. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here in Effingham County, and I hope that this project delivers all the benefits that you guys expect. And like I said, we, as Georgia Power, want to continue to have a great long-term relationship here.
Yeah, I just want to say we appreciate you and the team coming and meeting with us, answering questions, and appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that. Along 17 there, I noticed it's been cleared, it's kind of buffer we're looking at.
So the answer to that question is they are working on it, and Commissioner Deloach asked that same question when we met a couple weeks ago. So the official answer is they are planting some native species is what's recommended there. They're actually looking at the two types of species that I believe you recommended, cypress and, I'm going to mess this up,
Iliacus.
there you go.
Yeah.
So they're looking at those. The final decision hasn't been made, but it's going to be something that's appropriate and is native and doesn't grow too high, because that's facing south right there. So that's when the sun is low in the sky like this time of year. You don't want to have anything that's too high that'll throw shade.
So what kind of bumper and tax you say we're going to get?
So I don't want to estimate your exact tax revenues. I can tell you the investment by Georgia Power here is a little north of $5 million for a project like this. So we're looking at 5.2 or 5.3 million as far as investment in the facility.
Okay, very good.
Just one question. Can this type of solar farm be installed in wetlands?
So we normally try to avoid wetlands, and if you look at the design on the right, you'll see that the dark purple are the actual rows of panels. So you can see there's a couple of low spots, and they've tried to avoid those. Now there are some ways to install them there to mitigate that, but generally speaking, if you've got enough land, you're just going to want to try to avoid the wetlands. So they just went a little bit bigger, and it's going to end up with a little bit of not exactly a straight line, but they just work right around and design right around the wetlands on the facility. Now, I have seen some floating solar. That's one of the next things coming. Places that are on the coast or near a lake and have run out of land, floating solar is the new thing. But that's still more in the R&D phase. That won't be competitive for a little while yet.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Any other questions before?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you coming.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me. Y'all have a good night.
And I believe we have one last presentation tonight before we get into our business, and that's
Good evening. My name is Becky Long, and I'm the chairperson of the Effingham County Library Board, and we appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you tonight and just share with you some of the good news and the services that we provide to our community. I have with us tonight Mr. Tom Sloan. Tom is the new executive director of the Live Oak Public Library. He has been with us since August. Came to us from New York, and he has hit the ground running. He has a wealth of experience and knowledge, and he has provided just wonderful guidance for us in the past 5 months. Also have two of our library board members with us. We have Ms. Martha Knowlton, who serves, and also Ms. Kelly Laracy. Kelly and I both also serve as regional representatives to the Live Oak Public Library Board, and we meet monthly in Savannah. and have an opportunity to work. The Live Oak Public Library system is really a 3-county system, and we join with representatives from Liberty and Chatham as well, making decisions for our 16 libraries. Tonight, we just wanted to again share some information with you about the services that we provide. Next slide. The information that we have for you tonight comes from information that comes from the Georgia Public Library Services. And what they do annually is they assign a dollar amount to each of the different kind of transactions that public libraries across the state provide. And that dollar amount is comparable to what you would find across our country. So in our first slide, next slide, Stephanie, is, for example, we had in Effingham County alone over 90,672 reference transactions, which translated into $634,704. And reference transactions are, that could be, I go into the library and my child has just told me they have a project due tomorrow. And so I would go to the library and ask what kind of resources they could provide us with. I might have somebody in my family may get a medical diagnosis, and so I want to go to the library and get information about that. So when we're talking about reference transactions, that's what they mean. And again, over 90,000 of those in Effingham County alone last year. We had in Effingham County over 146,000 books that were circulated. Estimated value to the community over $3.6 million. Over 6,800 audiobooks that were circulated. Primarily these are CDs you can take with you in your car. Those who are visually impaired would also utilize the audiobooks. We also had over 38,000 videos, DVDs now, and CDs circulated, value of over $192,000. Then in our children's programming, in the next slide, this is really a very important part of our programming, very popular in Effingham County. Over 6,800 kids participated in some of our programs. Our story time is extremely popular. That's a weekly event in both our Springfield and our Lincoln branches. Our summer reading program is really, of our 16 libraries, it ranks right at the top in our participation. We have arts and crafts. There's always a STEAM project going on, science, technology, engineering, art, and math projects that are available, information available, and participation at our branches. And in January, there will be a winter reading challenge where the children will be challenged to read 5 books every week. So great participation from our kids in Effingham County. Our computer sessions, this is where people actually come into our libraries and log on and sit down and do their work. Over 22,000 sessions in Effingham County alone last year. And our wireless sessions were over 4,000. And that's where you bring your iPad or your iPhone and you use our internet. We do think that number is significantly lower than what actually happened, but we are getting new routers using E-rate funds, and those should all be installed by the end of January. So we expect next year that number will be possibly 10 times greater than what it is on this slide. We do have programming for adults as well. Over 1,000 adults participated. And this is really a public service. We provide, for example, Medicaid information, folks wanting to re-enter the job market, tax assistance, and some of our most popular is computer training for those of us who might need a little help with technology. And again, over 1,197 people participated in the program for adults. And our next slide, the information up in the top left, it reflects our total 16 branches in the 3 different counties. We had over 1.2 million patron visits, over 106 library card holders, and most of those are adults, and almost 1.3 million items were circulated, which are very impressive statistics. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, the total value of the services to Effingham County alone for over $4.8 million. So we're just excited that we're able to serve our public and that our libraries are used so frequently. On our next page, one of the things that we were able to do with this Georgia Public Library report is really make some cautious comparisons within the county, within the 3 different counties that are involved. And if you look at the top chart, you will see that the Rincon Library, of the 16 branches, Rincon Library, in the number of patron visits, ranks number 6 out of 16. It's important, I think, to also look, though, at the square footage. Bull Street is our flagship building, located close to 37th Street and Bull Street, with over 66,000 square feet. Southwest Chatham Library is the relatively new library that's located in the back parking area of the Savannah Mall. The Hinesville Library has only been open probably 2 or 3 years, brand new, beautiful building with over 28,000 square feet. Oglethorpe Mall Library, again, 15,000 square feet, and they are looking, the Chatham County Board is looking at some places to relocate that facility. Islands Library down on Johnny Mercer Boulevard, 16,000 square feet, and then our Rincon Library with just over 6,000 square feet. Moving down to the next chart, we like to look at how many print books we're circulating, and we're very pleased that the Rincon Library is 4th out of 16 in the number of books that are actually circulated. Again, I would ask you to look at the square footage. We certainly are one of the smaller libraries in the system, but we rank 4th in the number of print books that are circulated. As we look to the future of our libraries, we were able to meet with our state legislators, John Burns and Bill Hitchens and Jack Hill, following the Eggs and Issues Breakfast on December 5th at the Career Academy. You'll see Library Board member Larry Weddle, and on the right, Dr. Sandra Neffels. We met with those legislators, and in the middle is Miss Julie Walker. She is the Vice Chancellor for the Board of Regents and also the State Librarian, and she came down and sat with us along with some of her top members of her staff, and they're trying to help us plan for the future. That Rincon Library was built close to 30 years ago, and if you go back and think about what Effingham County was 30 years ago, think of all the new schools we built in that time, how we have wonderful upgraded and expanded recreation facilities. Our commercial and retail space certainly has grown, and so we're now starting to explore what do we need to do in this age of growth, how can we continue to serve our community. Julie and her folks brought information about the public library capital outlay grants, matching funds that could be available if we were to be able to build a new library construction, or possibly find an existing building that's large enough that we could repurpose for this Rincon Library. We thank you, Commissioners, real truly for your support of the libraries, for the financial support that you provide. We will be having our next board meeting on January the 9th at 10 o'clock at the Springfield Library. We would love it if you could drop by. You could drop by either the Rincon or Springfield branch anytime, and we welcome your visit. We also need your input and your support as we plan for the future, because we certainly want to continue to serve the community in the best way possible, and we think that it's time for us to be looking at what we need to do with our facilities. So, thank you. Do you have any questions?
Well, we definitely appreciate the love. That's my wife that she uses it more than I do.
Yes.
She goes and says we return books back and forth from. Just a quick question, not so much response, but probably what I consider. Have you ever looked at probably have the Rincon Law, the old Rincon School, as a possible library location? And I talked with Rincon possibly about just about a year about, I know one time we looked at a city hall down there, and maybe bringing the library to be a place where it might get more traffic because people are coming in to do business and so forth. Is that
Right.
something?
That has been mentioned, Wesley. There are many things that we need to consider, parking, utilization by other groups. So, but yes, that is something that certainly we would consider.
Yeah, I'd be interested if I could help with that in any way, meeting and facilitating things. I know one time, we got a little playground that could be expanded, there's a lot there that could go with it, I can expand the parking, and I wonder if there was a way to take that, which could be a Blythe, make it a joint venture with the county, city, library to, make it a beautiful area. And drive more traffic probably too, because if you're going there already for the
Lots of
activities.
traffic. And we can play basketball.
Play basketball, go by the library. Going to, National Recreation Park, go by the library. Going to City Hall, pay water, go by the library.
Right.
If we could help facilitate that discussion, we'd
Okay.
like to do that too.
Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you for all you do. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I failed to remember there is a presentation that should have been on here as well. I think it would be brief.
Okay.
I don't know, it's protocol, if we can allow that.
Yeah.
That would be good.
You want to make an introduction?
Here, Mozilla Bassett. Mozilla Bassett.
Jamie DeLoach, Commissioner, 3rd District. This young lady, Miss Maria Bowden, she actually brought a question up at our Eggs and Issues breakfast a couple weeks ago. And her question was extreme concern for the intersection of Fort Howard Road and Old Augusta Road. And I addressed the group and I told them that we are in design phase for a roundabout at that intersection, and we definitely have improvement plans for that intersection. But Ms. Bowden, she wanted to come and address the board as a group, and she just has some comments that she would like to make.
Thank you.
Just state your name and say what you have to say.
Thank you very much for your time, everyone. So yes, we had a discussion of the eggs and issues last weeks ago, and I stated the issue I saw in the area. Now, I would like to bring to your attention that there's someone investigating or surveying the area to have a live or a roundup in there. And I don't have, and I'm not going to put anyone down, I'm sorry, but you don't have to have anyone surveying the area. You just know that if you're coming down on a curve at a 55 limit, speed limit, and then on a high hill at 55, and then a roundup, it's going to be difficult, and there's going to be accidents. So, in my view, a light is necessary as soon as possible. My kids is their second accident there. It was my fault. I know people that died there, and I know that a month after my accident last August, there was another accident where people died. And I mean, it's necessary. We all need to have that other exit from our town. I work in logistics. I know it's necessary. But think about it. You don't have to spend that much money. Just put a light. Don't spend any money on the guy that's doing the survey. Put the light, and it might be easier and faster for everyone. And that was it. That's all I wanted to say.
Ms. Brown, we appreciate you coming. A couple of things you might not already know is that the survey is not looking for the need to handle it. We probably over a year ago recognized that need and started working with DOT, and they've given us a grant of $425,000, but they're not going to fund the light. They're on the program of funding the roundabouts. Some things that will happen is there'll be a change in speed limit approaching that within about a half mile out to 45, which will slow the traffic down. There'll be signage so that people be more aware than they are right now. racing down that highway coming to an intersection that could cause the accidents. The state really is excited about the roundabouts. They're providing some substantial funding. So what you're seeing now is the final plan for how we route the traffic while they go ahead and build this. We're hoping to let this for contract fairly soon. So you should see that completed early in 19, I hope.
Yeah, I brought that in, why does it take you so long?
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand everything takes time, and I just hope something is done before something else happens. And there's been too many accidents, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Yes, we're going to help. It's in the city limits of Lincoln, but we're partnering with them to make sure that gets done, because everybody in the cities are also in the county, and we care about everybody. So we're going to make sure 2019 that's a much safer intersection.
Yes.
We're also doing we're planning to do some striping on there. That's
Because all that I took video and photos of the area. Right now, there's all kinds of car parks everywhere.
Yeah.
It is a dangerous place.
Well, we're working diligently to see early in 2019 that will be resolved for you and all of our folks.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank you.
and just be kind of patient and give a chance to the solution, because none of us up here are traffic engineers. You know, we're all dependent on those specialties, so just give it a shot. I think it'll be the solution.
Yeah, we've heard some good comments about the one at 17. That was
Yes,
real high
that is a
speed
beautiful
traffic
one, yes.
area, and they said that has really made it a lot safer and easier.
And the guy who
Nobody's
died-
shooting the gaps anymore, so we appreciate you. We care about you. We're going to try to address that for you.
Thank you, and I love that. I've never been in a meeting like this, but I feel better to know that there's recyclable choices. There's all the other presentations were enlightening. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime. Thank you. We have 5 minutes before 6 o'clock. We're going to have to go into our public hearing, so if you're here for item of business tonight, we're going to need to address our public hearing and come back to our agenda. I'm wondering if we should take a 5-minute restroom break, or we can keep on going away. I'll take a big business in 5 minutes. I'll take a 5-minute break, use the restroom, we'll be back in time at 6. We'll try to get through the planning and zoning really quickly and get back on our agenda. Show you after that. Okay. All right, we'll go back in the regular session and we'll begin our public hearings for the night. First item tonight is a planning board recommends approving an application by Stephen West to rezone 5 acres located on Old Conway Road, AR1 to AR2. This is map number 352, parcel 82 in the first district. And to address it and open up here.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to transfer this 1 acre property from the current owner, who is Michael West. This is the brother of Stephen West. There is currently a home on the parcel being subdivided and a certified well and an individual septic system. Staff does recommend approval with the 4 stipulations listed.
Okay. We'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone tonight wanting to speak for this rezoning? Is there anyone tonight who would like to speak against this rezoning? Seeing neither, I'll close the public hearing and see if there's any questions from the board. Discussion?
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. I'll entertain a motion.
Recommendation, we approve the planning board staff recommendation.
Motion by Mr. Floyd, second Mr. Loper, to approve planning board and staff recommendations. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Carries. Item 2 is a second reading of consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Stephen West to rezone 5 acres located on Noel C. Conway Road from AR1 to AR2. Excuse me. Map number 352, parcel 82 in the first district. Do I have a motion to approve the second reading?
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion Mr. Floyd, second Mr. Logan to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And it is approved. Item 3 on the public hearing is the planning board recommends approving an application by Bethany Thornton for a variance to reduce the side property setbacks from 25 feet to 10 feet for the construction of an addition to the residence located at 796 Allocation Road, map number 417B, parcel number 11 in the second district.
Yes, sir, this request is to allow for an addition to be added to this residence for her disabled parents. This property is identified as Lot 11 in Monteith Farms. It's zoned as AR1 development that existed around the origination of zoning. Around 1967 is actually when the plat was approved for this subdivision. The application proposes a construction for a mother-in-law suite and a garage, and I believe you have materials there. The garage is considered as an accessory structure, and as such, the setback requirement is 5 feet on the rear and 10 on the side. Staff does recommend approval for this request with the stipulations noted.
I'll open the public hearing to see if there's anyone that would like to speak for this variance this evening. You just state your name for the records and just make any comments you'd like to make.
My name's Aaron Thornton. It's for my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. He was on cone today, but he wasn't able to because of health issues. We still plan on doing the building and construction of the mother-in-law suite if y'all approve it.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Anyone else speaking for this variance tonight? Anyone present that would like to speak against approving a variance tonight? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and see if there's any questions, discussion on the board. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the planning board staff recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Keeper to approve planning board and staff recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries. You have the second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Bethany Thornton for a variance to reduce the side property setbacks from 25 feet to 10 feet for the construction of an addition to the residence located at 796 County Road, map number 417B, parcel number 11 in the second district. Have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second Mr. Floyd to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries. Item number 5 on the planning board, public hearing is the planning board recommends approving an application by Charles Sherrouse to rezone 3.1 acres out of 6.53 acres from AR1 to AR2 and combine remaining acreage with a larger parcel located at 138 Sherrouse Road, map number 367, parcel 20 in the 3rd district.
As you stated, Mr. Chairman, it is to be subdivided and gift deeded to his daughter. There is currently a home site on the property that is served by a well and septic system. Staff does recommend approval of this request with the foregoing stipulations.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing to see if anyone would like to speak for this rezoning. Welcome, Mr. Sherrouse. If you could state your name and share what you want to share.
Okay, I'm Charles Sherrouse, better known as Wendell Sherrouse. I'm rezoning this property because this is a portion that my home sits on. And the rest of the property I'm going to gift deed to my children at a later date. So I wish to rezone this property that my house is established on.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Anyone else speaking for this tonight? Anyone tonight that would like to speak against this rezoning? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and see if there's any questions or discussions from the board. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the staff and planning board recommendations.
Motion, Mr. Deloach, second, Mr. Loper, to approve the planning board and staff recommendations. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Excuse me, it carries. Second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Charles Sherrouse, used on 3.1 acres out of 6.53 acres from AR1 to AR2, and combine remaining acreage with a larger parcel located at 138 Sherrouse Road, map number 367, parcel number 20 in the 3rd district. Have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Lowe, second, Mr. Loper, to approve the second reading. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And it is approved. Carries. Item number 7, on public hearing, the planning board recommends approving an application by Walton L. Hall to rezone 3.99 acres located at 7083 Highway 119 North from AR1 to B3, map number 402, parcel 10 in the 3rd district.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this property is to be used for commercial use, such as a lumberyard or an automotive sale and service storage. These are all permitted under this zoning. This is a vacant property located near the Georgia-South Carolina border and has frontage on Highway 119. There are other commercial properties along this route, and this designation for the B3 zoning district is for highway commercial. It is supported by the current comprehensive plan. Staff does recommend approval with the four stipulations.
Very good. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to speak in favor of this rezoning application? Anyone tonight that would like to speak in opposition to this rezoning application? Seeing neither, we'll close the public hearing. And I entertain a motion. Oh, discussion question, I apologize. I entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the staff and planning board recommendations.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Kiefer, to approve the staff and planning board recommendations. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And it carries. Move to the second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Walton L. Hall to rezone 3.99 acres located at 7083 Highway 119 North from AR1 to B3. Map number 402, parcel number 10 in the 3rd district. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Hooper, to approve the second reading. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And it carries. Item number 9, public hearing. The planning board recommends approving an application by Terry Griner to rezone 7.38 acres located at Go-Kart Road and Highway 17 South from AR1 to B3 to allow for mini storage units, map number 296, parcel 46L in the 4th district.
This is an undeveloped site at this location. The proposed noted use of water and sewer services is to be provided by a well and individual septic system. Staff did have concern for the commercial use of this corner lot at this highway intersection due to the heavy traffic on 17. So we added a stipulation that if it is approved, the access to this property be from Go-Kart Road. But the planning board and staff do recommend approval of this request.
Very well, we'll open a public hearing. Anyone tonight would like to speak for this rezoning?
I'm Terry Griner.
Mr. Griner, welcome. You want to make any comments or share any specifics tonight?
Try to get me something going on, future.
Okay. And do you have any issue with that, with the access being from Go-Kart Road as recommended by the staff?
No, that's what I want to do anyway.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Anyone else tonight wanting to speak for this rezoning? Seeing no one, I'll ask, is there anybody tonight that would like to speak in opposition to this rezoning? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Any questions or discussion from the board? We'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve staff recommendations. Second.
Motion, Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Kiefer, to approve staff recommendations. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Any carries. Stephanie, is that satisfied? Just the staff reiterated the other recommendations anyway from the planning board.
Yes, sir. That same recommendation.
And you will entertain the second reading here, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Terry Ryder to rezone 7.38 acres located at Elkhart Road at Highway 17 South from AR1 to B3 to allow for mini storage units, map number 296, parcel 46L in the 4th district.
Make a motion to approve the second reading. Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Deloge to approve the second reading. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And carries. It's been granted. You're good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item number 11, public hearing. The planning board recommends approving an application by Ronnie Pope to rezone 34.04 acres located on Courthouse Road from PD to AR2, map number 348, parcel number 13A in the 4th district.
Yes, sir. As noted, the request is to downgrade the zoning from planned development to an AR2 district for single-family residential dwellings. This property was rezoned and a master plan was approved for a planned development back in August of 2008 for additional phase of Kingsley Plantation, which is an existing development that adjoins this property. You have a conceptual plan attached, and it notes the proposal for 3 lots, which constitutes a minor subdivision, and you have the details there for that. One of the lots will be served by an access easement, with 2 having frontage to the public road. Staff and planning board did recommend approval of this request.
Anyone tonight, welcome to public hearing. Anyone tonight want to speak for this rezoning? State your name and then share what you'd like to share with us.
Yes, sir. I'm David Hendricks with Maxwell Reddick and Associates in Statesboro. I'm representing Mr. Ronnie Pope on this. Excuse me. Mr. Pope has had this property for about 10 years. He's been paying taxes on it and just now getting ready to see what he can do with it, so we can sell it. That would be the ideal thing, is just sell the entire piece. If he can, he is willing to do a minor subdivision as we've shown on the drawing. We approached zoning staff, who's no longer here anymore, but she was very helpful, Ms. Clement. And it turned out that the PD that was approved, there was no record of what was approved there. There was no map that they could find. So her recommendation to us was to rezone it, since we wanted to do something that was a downgrade from PD, is less dense than PD. She recommended AR1 or AR2. We researched both of those districts. We decided on AR2 because it seemed to allow a little more flexibility in lot size. That's the only reason we chose AR2. During the Planning Commission meeting, there was some opposition. Apparently AR2 allows mobile homes, modular homes. That was not the intent in choosing AR2. It was merely to get some flexibility in lot size, because like I said, Mr. Pope would like to sell this entire piece to one person. So I will step back and take any questions anyone may have, and thank you for your time and consideration.
And as he stated, there was some opposition at the planning board meeting in that regard, just concerned that whoever purchased the property may turn it into a mobile home park or whatever.
Well, they would be able to put how many mobile homes per lot? 2?
Well, they would have to come back with a site plan if they did anything
Right.
beyond what's being requested here. But that was their concern.
Yeah, this doesn't give the right to range, but this just rezones property, AR2.
This rezones the property, which allows that use.
That's a permissible use of AR2. So you can't restrict it once you rezone.
You can't restrict it.
So was the argument, would devalue the property if that happened, or what was the argument?
That was the argument. I believe some of those members are here.
Yeah, we'll get to
That was the
that.
argument, that their property would be,
Well, trailer park, you have to do it in R4, would
for a mobile home park, we have to rezone to R4.
Yeah.
This would allow them to put one mobile home. All right, very good. Anyone else speaking for this? We're still in the public hearing phase, and we'll have more question discussion from the board in a minute. Okay, is anyone tonight who would like to speak in opposition to this rezone? You come one at a time and state your name and share with you not share.
My name is Rudy Villarreal. I'm one of the homeowners at Warren Fields, which adjoins the property. Let me open up by saying that we're not opposing Mr. Pope's right to sell the property, nor are we opposing the right for him to sell for homes. But what we do find that we are opposing is an AR2. As you discussed a few minutes ago, it does allow for mobile homes and modulars. This past year, most of our homes finally got back up to the tax appraisal, which most of us paid for the homes when we bought them some years ago. Some of us are going to stay, some of us will retire there, and some of us will move out. Mr. Pope made a statement at our last meeting that he has invested quite a bit of money in that property, which he has, but so have we. If mobile homes come in, and I have nothing against someone who wants to live in a mobile home or a modular, that's their right. But we bought into this neighborhood because of the neighborhood that it is. Most of the homes in this neighborhood will go from $175,000 to $200,000 a sale. We want to retain that. We just want to protect our assets as much as Mr. Pope wants to get a return from the capital he's got invested. So that's what we're opposing. We're opposing AR2 because of the mobile homes and modulars. There was conversation last time by the individual who spoke for Mr. Pope that there could possibly be put in a rider that would prohibit mobile homes and modulars from ever being put back in there. But Mr. Pope opposed that. He did state that he would not allow it, but if he sells it to someone else, then there's no guarantee. So that's what we're here for. We don't want it in there. Most of us moved into that neighborhood because of the neighborhood that it is. It's peaceful, it's quiet. We got a wood line back there, which we knew eventually would go away. But it has developed now to where we've got a lot of children in there now. They play in the streets because they are quiet, private, and they can go in there safely. All the adults watch for the children. And no matter, we can ride up and down Courthouse, and I'm sure some of you have. There's mobile homes up on the northern end of Courthouse. Some of them are nice, but as you ride through, you see that they're not. Those of us who are in the community keep our homes up. And when we do sell, if we do sell, we'd like to have a return on the capital that we've invested.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else tonight want to speak in opposition to this rezoning?
Evening, sirs. My name's Louis Voiles. I'm a property owner that borders the property in question here, 223 Wild Rose. I wanted to state my opposition to that. One of the things I do, I'm a real estate investor in the area. I've built homes within Royal Oak subdivision. And I settled my family here in Warner Fields, and one of the reasons I did that was because of the neighborhood, the type of neighborhood it is, and the surrounding neighborhoods that are in that area. As well as what was planned for the future. You know, being a real estate investor, I am privy to seeing what the zoning is for certain areas and stuff, and so this is one of the reasons why I purchased in this area. So again, I would like to echo what Mr. Rudy said, and you know, my concern being that the modulars would go in there. You know, there's nothing that says they can't, and that it would deter from the property value that I've invested in this property. You know, I've only been in the neighborhood for a year, but that's one of the reasons that I purchased in the neighborhood. So I'd like to protect that investment and see that turned out. Thank you.
Anyone else tonight want to speak in opposition to this rezoning?
Mr. Commissioner, I got one more thing I'd like to say.
My wife and I have purchased, bought, and sold properties in 3 states, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. And each one of the properties that there was anywhere that there was a mobile home within a half mile to a mile from it, devalued those properties. And again, that's what we're trying to protect, is the assets we put in.
Certainly. Anyone else tonight speaking against this petition for rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. I've got some questions from the city board. Are there any other mobile homes in proximity nearby on lots near this properties?
It's AR2 zoning nearby. That's one of my questions, actually.
Well, it looks like, look at the map here, that these properties, according to the legend, it looks like they may be AR2. Try to see what it's like that.
So those two orange properties are AR2? While you're looking at that, to answer that question, one of my concerns is that, we've been trying to be careful about when we have something zoned and somebody wants to stop someone from doing something that's already zoned, we said, well, you check the zone before you move in. That's why we put the zoning so people can kind of know what's going to be near and around them. I'm a little hesitant when you change the zoning that could change the type of structures that go in for, it's just my personal thoughts for a couple of things.
PD would make it, I would say, would make it a lot worse. They divide it into 3 lots, that's 11 acres for whoever buys it.
What's the allowed use?
Well, it depends. The PD, some of these PDs and some of these communities, they have closely staffed lots, but they're very nice houses. Once again, I don't think mobile homes means it's going to be loud or not well kept. I think the people keep.
Well, they got the big lots there too. I mean, they 3 acres, they got 11 acres apiece. 3 acres, 34 acres and all of it. So, I don't.
That's just part of my concern about
Well, as the property is currently zoned, it could be a lot more dense.
That's what I'm saying.
In structures, yeah.
Yeah, I get that. It can be a lot more dense. I understand that. But it could be a lot more mobile homes. I'm just raising questions for us to make sure we consider it all. You couldn't put mobile homes out in PD.
No, you cannot. But you can only put one on it, zone.
May I know it's not a public hearing anymore, but
Right, but if you want to go ahead and address, we want to. There's some questions from the commission right now, but go ahead.
right, it was I think, Mr. Kiefer, your question, what does the PUD allow you to do? And that's why we're here. No one on staff could tell us what the PUD allowed us to do because the description was that it allowed for townhomes, commercial, half-acre lots, lots much smaller than that, I think 6,000 acre lots, something like that. But since they didn't have a master planned map that they could find on file, they couldn't tell us what we could do. Otherwise, we would just try to go in and do something less dense.
I don't know that.
So that's why we're here.
It has to have a master plan, does it? It can have a PUD can have what people go there.
Typically, there's the master plan, and there is one that exists for this area. I didn't realize that they couldn't find it, but I could pull it. So it would designate what use is allowed for this parcel. And it would be something along the lines that's stated, single family,
Commercial in the front,
townhouses,
single
commercial,
family,
that's
and then
right.
maybe apartments in the back, and those kind of things, yeah.
Let me ask you a question. We've rezoned before for landowners to give an acre or whatever to their sibling. We've never restricted it to a stick-built home, have we?
Well,
We have to be careful as a board. We need to consider zoning, and those uses are allowed in those zoning. We have to be careful about picking and choosing the particular structures in those zones.
Right, I don't remember ever restricting it when we've done it before.
Is AR1 restricted to
It allows.
brick and mortar, or can that be a mobile home too?
It can be mobile homes as well. You
Okay.
asked earlier about these properties. This property, these properties, and this one are all zoned AR2.
Okay, so the bigger question, I'm just trying to make my comment around, is not, we don't ever restrict AR1 or AR2 to the brick and mortar. That just assures that there won't be 4 or 5 houses.
The density, I think.
It affects the density.
That's
So we have
correct.
nothing to restrict that.
What type of structure, that's right.
But if you change it to AR1, he can put anything he wanted to. He can have hogs and chickens and everything else on that. A mobile home on AR1.
That's right.
There's no difference what he can put on it with AR2. So, I mean, you can't restrict it. You got to change it.
That's what I was just clarifying with her, that AR1 is the same thing,
Same thing, basically, yeah.
just density. Yeah, that's density on AR1 and AR2. So, and what's the minimum lot for AR2? Is there a minimum size to?
1 acre with a wellness setback.
But Mr. Pope isn't planning on developing, just selling. What's the advantage of changing it now as opposed to selling and then the future owner doing what he needs to do and come before the board.
Well, like I said, in our dealings with the previous zone administrator, they weren't able to tell us what we could do by right. And I don't know about any of you, I certainly wouldn't buy anything if the seller couldn't tell me what you could do by right. So we're trying to establish that.
But you could purchase some little contingency of being able to rezone, like you wanted to do, build homes versus mobile homes. Just trying to gather, if this didn't happen, is that going to hinder a sale, or is it, well, what's the value of it?
It's hard to say.
And in a PUD, you can put single family homes, couldn't you? So you don't have to put density, you can build less dense.
I'd rather have it AR1, AR2 than a PUD. I would.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Have 11 acre lots, each one of them.
There's more flexibility, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you can still do a 1 acre per lot house on PUD.
Yeah, but they have 11 acres.
They could put 11 houses out if they want to.
Or with
It
it,
could be both homes.
right, or with it being a PD, it could, if it's served by sewer and water, it could be about 6,000 square feet.
Oh, yeah, they can put, just about
50 to 100 out there.
50 to 100 out there. Right. And I guess that's the point you got to decide, what you want to, as far as the poison you got to decide that this residence, like one AR2, you have one.
But the reason this all started is you didn't have clarity in what the PD would allow.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
And
we're saying we do that there.
There's a master plan that exists for this. I recall it.
let me ask you, let me throw this out there. Would it be of interest to table it and y'all get together and make sure he's clear, maybe they want to keep the PD?
If he's interested in a master plan.
You rest of the table and it's
I know.
this American.
I don't see no reason.
Hey, this is, I'm sorry, this is your, I'm just saying, I think there'd be some confusion what they could do.
But it doesn't change what position proves is right for a property owner to have. Get called for a budget, say what you have. You can always make a motion to table, you can make a motion to approve it.
Yes, it's Reggie's up there.
I'll make a motion to approve it. Staff recommendation. What we do is changing the PD, which would be, I think it'd be better than AR1, AR2, what else, change it.
Well, I have a motion from Mr. Loper to approve according to the planning board and staff recommendations. We have a second, and we can get a vote, don't? A second.
I'll make sure they're clear with their.
Yeah, it's,
The motion is to allow, on the board, Mr. Reggie now is to allow them to approve the change to an AR2. From that.
Can't keep a man from rezoning his own land.
That's true, we just did that.
380, 11 acre tract sale, and they doing that. Not better PD.
In the long run, it'd be less traffic, less noise, less issues on PD, I agree. There's a motion on the floor, if we have a second, we'll move forward.
Second.
Second, Mr. Floyd, to approve the rezoning from PD to AR2 according to staff and planning board recommendations. We have a vote, all in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Hearing none, it is approved. Okay, we'll do the second reading. Second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Ronnie Poe to rezone 34.04 acres located on Courthouse Road from PD to AR2, map number 346, parcel number 13A in the 4th District. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Mr. Loper to approve the second reading, second Mr. Floyd. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. And it is so ordered and approved. I think the thought from the board when I hear tonight, though, that the PUD would create more issues and more struggles for the community probably, and the fact that we try to support the landowners as much as possible, as long as it doesn't change the character of an area. When I heard that there's other AR2s in the area, it's 11-acre tract. And so we're always cautious about restricting property. So that's just my fault. Why it's approved tonight before this work. Public hearing number 13, the planning board recommends approving an application by Elizabeth Lael to rezone 2.26 acres out of 4.54 acres, remaining to be combined with an abandoned parcel located on Indigo Road, map number 25, parcel number 36 in the 4th district.
Yes, sir, Ms. Lael would like to rezone this property to subdivide her home site that's on the property, and then take the remaining property to combine with her brother's son's adjoining parcel. Staff and planning board has recommended.
We'll open the public hearing on this and see if there's anyone that would like to speak for this rezoning. Anyone tonight speaking against this rezoning? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any discussion from the board? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the recommendation.
Motion by Mr. Roper to approve planning board and staff recommendations.
Staff.
And second.
It said staff, correct?
Staff recommendation.
So are they different or the same?
They the same.
They're the same.
I just want to make sure we cover it all.
Yeah.
So you just said.
Both of them the same.
Okay. We'll look at the motion to plan staff's recommendation and second staff recommendation. Mr. Loach, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. Any carries. Second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of the application by Elizabeth Lael to rezone 2.26 acres out of 4.54 acres remaining to be combined with the adjoining parcel located on Indigo Road, map number 425, parcel number 36 in the 4th district. Motion.
Make a motion to approve second reading staff recommendations.
Motion to approve second reading, second by Mr. Burrell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. Any carries. Item number 15, last one in public hearing, the planning board recommends approving an application by Brenda Horton to rezone 5.4 acres located at 312 Freeman Bruce Road from AR1 to AR2, map number 462B, parcel number 3 in the 5th district.
This one's very similar to the previous item. It's a request to separate a home site, and the remaining property will be given to her grandson for the construction of a home. Staff and planning board has recommended approval.
Okay, anyone tonight, a local public hearing, anyone tonight wanting to speak for this rezoning? Anyone tonight that would like to speak against this rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion or question from the board? Seeing none, entertain a motion.
Fifth district.
5th district.
What? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Make a motion to approve the planning board staff recommendation. Second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer to approve planning board and staff recommendations, and I heard 2 seconds over there, so I'll just say Mr. Loach.
Take your cue.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. Any carries. Second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Brenda Horton to rezone 5.4 acres located at 312 Brickman Ridge Road from AR1 to AR2, map number 426B, parcel number 3 in the 5th district.
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Mr. Kiefer, second, Mr. Deloach, to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed no. And carries. That concludes our public hearing tonight. Maybe move right into the business now. Everybody ready? My voice is about to go. That is agenda up. Old business. This is an item that was tabled, consideration to approve to not renew the contract with Allen Ziegler for timber extraction and to issue a non-renewal contract letter. You can make your comments very brief if we need to move. If you just want to say any questions, that's fine.
The county, good evening, Fiona Charlton, purchasing agent. The county has a timber extraction contract in place with Allen Ziegler for the 2018 digest, which was approved by the state in August 2018. And there were no appeals that would need testimony, which would have taken the county into the 2019 digest year. The Chief Appraiser has not had any contact with Mr. Ziegler about performing work on this year's digest. Staff would like to issue a non-renewal letter per Article 1 of the contract, which allows either party to give 60 days' notice. The County Attorney has approved the non-renewal letter, and as no funding is required, staff recommend alternative 1. Any questions?
Thank you for the abbreviation, I appreciate it. Any questions, discussion? Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve order number 1. Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Burdette, to approve alternative number 1. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And it carries. Item number 2 in old business, this was tabled from 12-4 as well. Consideration to approve to accept a proposal and award a contract for classification and values for rural land and timber to GMASS Incorporated.
The county must extract timber from large tracts to comply with the appraisal procedure manual. They must also comply with recommended staffing for real property and personal property to parcel/account number per employee ratios. An RFP for classifications and values for rural land and timber was advertised in the usual places and sent to no vendors. One bid was received from GMAS Inc. for the fee of $25,200 for the first year. For years 2, 3, and 4, the annual fee is $6,900, as the classifications, descriptions, etc. will be completed in year 1. A fee of $94 per hour was quoted for the proposal to be present for appeal hearings or to assist with appeals at the request of the Board of Assessors. The Board of Assessors has reviewed and approved the proposal and have voted to award the contract to GMAS Inc. pending approval by the Board of Commissioners. As the County Attorney has reviewed and approved the contract with GMAS and funding is included in the current budget, staff recommend alternative 1. Any questions?
Have a motion for alternative number 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And it carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Move to new business. First item of new business is consideration to approve 2 film location agreements between Effingham County Board of Commissioners and Universal Cable Production for the use of the judicial complex and the historic courthouse.
Okay, yes, sir, you said it, and the details are outlined there in the staff report. The date is Wednesday, January 16th, for varying hours. Mr. Stephen Yetton with the company is here to speak and answer any questions you may have. Staff does recommend approval of these requests.
Okay, and I did speak to the sheriff, and he said he's spoken with them and got half this thing set up for security.
Yes, sir.
Everything's good there. He's happy with it.
Yes, sir.
You can if you need to, but you don't need to make a comment.
No, thank you very much, though, for your
We
consideration.
did speak a little before, and I appreciate all the work you've done to try to communicate. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Any questions, discussion from the board? We have a motion to approve alternative number 1.
Make a motion to approve order number 1. Second.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Kiefer. Approve alternative number 1. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. It carries. Item number 2, new business consideration to approve a warranty deed to accept the roads in the sewer and Timberlake subdivision, phase 2 located off of Horsebrook Road. Thank you, gentlemen.
BMP Enterprises requests the county accept this infrastructure for the portion of this development. We have received approval from our engineering staff recommending that we accept it. We also received a 10% bond. There are approximately 88 lots within this development, and the roads consist of approximately 5.26 acres. The warranty deed has been reviewed and approved by the county attorney, and staff recommends approval.
Very good. Is this the one you had a question about? Okay. Any questions, discussion from the board? All right, hearing none, do you have a motion to approve alternative number 1?
Make a motion to approve order number 1.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Deloach to approve alternative number 1. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And it carries. Item number 4. Consideration to approve the amend the series 2017 water and sewer bond allocation. Oh, Mr.
Item 3.
That's number 3. So it's slow on this other. Yeah, let me make a minute.
Item 3.
Let me get my notes straight. And I'm never going to look here. I apologize. So I read number 3. Consideration to approve a proposal and issue a contract and notice to proceed to E&D Contracting Services Incorporated for Honey Ridge Road Replacement Project.
Fiona Charlton, purchasing agent. Honey Ridge Road Bridge is a narrow bridge, 21 feet wide on a 24-foot wide highway. Georgia DOT has the bridge on their deficiencies list because of the separation of the wing walls from the bridge structure. A bid was issued to replace the bridge with a box culvert and guardrails wide enough to accommodate safe travels. It was advertised in the usual places and sent to known vendors. 4 bids were received, with the low bidder being E&D Contracting Services for a total bid price of $437,300.50. $150,000 was budgeted from SPLOS Roads for this project. The remaining $287,300.50 will come from the current savings for the budgeted quick response right-hand lanes. E&D responded in accordance with the invitation to bid and provided the required bid bond, and as the county attorney has reviewed and approved the contract and funding is available, staff recommends alternative number 1. Any questions?
I've got 1 or 2 questions. It's a 90-day contract, I saw.
Yes, sir.
90 days to be done. The penalty is $250 per day.
Yes, sir.
That doesn't seem like sufficient penalty. Let's say $500 for a month. And that's one question I got. Can that be adjusted, if not now, in the future? I'm just concerned that that doesn't ensure.
We can adjust
a little
that.
bit. Then, do we follow up on these low bidders to make sure that they have good references from? I know it's a big disparity from the highest to the lowest. Do we have references to make sure that everyone is satisfied?
They've done a lot of bridge work. I checked on their website. And they have done a lot of bridge work for counties for GDOT too.
And now they get the details of all the contract, but do they show how many days that they're allowed, rain days already, so that if there's any delays, it won't be associated with rain days?
The rain days are listed in the bid, how many rain days we allow for each month, and it's from the National Oceanographic
Well,
website.
that road will have to be shut down at some, for a certain amount of time. Are we going to handle that, communication with the public from the county side, or?
It's a good question.
We definitely need to make sure that gets out.
Things in the paper signage, this road's going to be closed on this date, and put that out at least 30 days before construction starts. And
we can do
It's
that.
great that the roundabout is, both roundabouts are done now, so.
That would be put it on.
Yeah, so we don't have that issue now, because that's the main question I always got. Why don't you fix the bridge? Well, we don't want to have roundabout and bridge.
Chris, is that something you could help us with, and also the theme?
The signage, I believe, they're going to put the signage up.
Now, I would like the board interested in just looking at those contracts and increasing those penalties. I have dealt with contracts in the past with government contracts that gets extended, and something like this is going to really make traffic slow and tedious. You want to make sure they stay within that 90 days if all possible.
And Dan McPhee, EOM, part of your engineering staff. In the contract and in the pre-bid conference that we had, we specified that error boards were to be put before, on both 17 and 119, okay, thank you. On the other side, telling them when it was going to be shut down, to give them enough advance warning, and then when the date came that it was going to be shut down, then when you're coming down 17, you'll be able to see an error board that says, Honey Ridge Road is closed due to a bridge out, and local traffic over. But it'll be closed on both sides for the entire duration of the job.
And it's clearly stated in the contract, they have.
Taking care of that, he'll rent the boards or whatever he has.
Yeah, it's up to the contractor. They've got a line item in there for traffic control, and that's their job to do that. And we,
Yeah, but I think as a board, we should get it in the papers and try to notify residents well ahead, just so.
I used to have contact for the HOA for Honey Ridge, but I just looked through my phone and I do not see that number. I don't know if you have
There's a
something.
new management company handling that now. I don't know
Okay.
find out what their social trade.
Okay.
Okay.
and as Chris just said,
Social media, and that's probably the best in the newspaper, and that's probably a way to get at it.
Yeah, here you see that should, social media.
Facebook.
They just putting culverts in, right? They putting big culverts in, not actually building a bridge.
it's a triple 10-foot wide. It's 3 10-foot wide by 5 foot high.
Yeah.
Too,
It shouldn't take us that long, really, to do it.
and it's actually from side to side 40 feet wide, but the way GDOT describes them, it's 38 feet inside the parapet wall. That's compared to the 21 feet we got there.
Get it
They
that
just did
here.
it, run the bridge out and set them in there.
Yeah,
It shouldn't take them 90 days to do it.
No,
What if it didn't?
A couple of weeks.
not in my experience. It'll take longer, a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
But
but anyway. Tear it up.
Any other questions or discussions regarding this item? We'd like to look at those penalties and see if we can adjust our.
I can, if you'd like me to, I can adjust it.
10 years ago, when that was a good penalty, but that's $7,500.
Okay.
On a $430,000 contract, I put it off, I had a great job coming, then our public gets displaced.
I'll change it.
We have a motion,
Make a motion to approve order number 1.
I should have left it, that was the same last time. Motion from Mr. Lopez, second Mr. Floyd, approve alternative number 1, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no, it carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Consideration number 4, to approve to amend the Series 2017 ordinance with on allocations.
Good evening, Christy Carpenter, Finance Director. What we're asking for in this request is for approval to amend the allocation of the projects that are in the 2017 water bonds, and you should have a copy of the original breakdown. And that's so that we can establish the project for the wastewater treatment plant of 294.5. I have spoken with the bond attorney, and he said that the best way for us to do it is with board approval.
Just do what?
The best way to reallocate the projects, because they're similar projects, we can reallocate the money taken from some projects and moving it to create this new project for the wastewater treatment plant.
We had 294.5 originally in that. What am I looking at wrong here? I know we're trying to increase through the repairs and maintenance, and it's still 294.5.
It wasn't in the original. In the original project list, do you have the copy from the bond? You should have the one
I'm just
that's,
looking at the document, it says budget, and then the new balance, and then the second number. But anyway, it may just be where we're presenting it, but we are getting the the interest I had was getting the 294 that we can do the repairs we need to do to the wastewater treatment facility.
that's correct.
And that's all we're trying to do tonight for the commission to know, is there's some must need repairs, upgrades we want. And they
Yes.
believe that money's available in the other projects that might have been a little high.
Right, and the old Augusta project is completed, so that $80,000 was savings on that project, so we're gonna, of course, move that. And then the others will be reduced by the amount shown in the transfer column.
Okay, I'm following, I got you.
I apologize.
All right, any questions? Motion to alternative 1?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Lewis, second, Mr. Phillips, to approve alternative number 1. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no, it carries. Thank you, Chris. Item number 5, consideration to approve a resolution to amend the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget.
Yes, sir, and because of the approval of the reallocation, we need to address the the budget for those bonds as well, and you will see is the same reduction of those projects already listed and the creation of the wastewater treatment repairs and upgrades.
Very
They
good.
should, but,
Yeah, just make a budget match what you just approved.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Motion to approve alternative one. By Mr. Lowe, second Mr. Wicker, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no, carries. Item 6, consideration to approve to establish a Georgia Fund 1 bank account, that's the LGIP, for fire, hospital, and water bond investments.
Yes, sir, and here we're just asking permission to open 3 additional investment accounts with LGIP for fire, hospital, and those water bonds. We have the potential to increase our interest earnings by doing that greatly. The only thing that I would like to point out is on the water bond investment, we do have to follow arbitrage law. So I have looked into a company that handles that paperwork for us, and it's very nominal charges for that.
Very good. Any questions?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion Mr. Lowe, second Mr. Floyd, to approve alternative 1, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Any carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7, consideration to approve 2 quitclaim deeds between Effingham County Board of Commission and the Department of Transportation to transfer properties at Airport Landing. Mr. Lee, you got that one?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, the Georgia Department of Transportation owns property next to Abercorn Landing, and they want to transfer part of their property to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So when they started running the title, there was an issue with the boundary between this parcel and ours. Actually, I have the plat that was dropped off today that'll make it give a little more clarity to it to show you. Actually, we're going to gain more property there. It's not going to affect the boat ramp or any area there. Actually, we're going to gain a little more. And so we're just quick claiming any interest that we have in their property, and they're going to do the same thing to us. So there's no transfer of funds or anything like that.
Basically define the line.
That's correct.
I'd like to see the plan.
Can I bring it up now? We'll look at it now.
Do I need
We'll look at it now. I have it right here.
Can if y'all want, I mean,
Let's take a look at it now. We'll
Where it's hard.
see.
Here it is, right there.
You just keep What was the purpose of the public welcome, couple of? What was the purpose? What was the main?
This parcel here, Department of Transportation owns that, and they just U.S. Fish and Wildlife, they actually owns the island over here. So they probably, I expect they have some, they have some sort of access to it, maybe around or something. To get over to, but that's also there. It's going to be part of their, they have a U.S. Wildlife Reserve down the road.
Yeah, that's right.
But kind of what we establish as it exists now is within the docks. So right there, this is what we have. We're going to pick up all of this. We're getting that, and even whatever interest we have in this parcel here, once we're established, this is boundary line back. So we're going to get something.
I was concerned down there, parking anyway, there's going to be something.
So this line remains? This would be recombined?
This will be the parcel.
Okay. But that would only be straight earned there.
This will be the new one. I'll go say
All right, then we have a motion to approve alternative number 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Sorry.
Mr. Lowe, second Mr. Wicker, to approve alternative number 1, all in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Carries. Number 8, new business. Consideration to approve to appoint members to the construction board of adjustments and appeals.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you all are aware this board has been stagnant for a number of years just due to the lack of need for it. We do have a need to reenact this board. So we've received applications from various candidates. We have 5 applications for regular members and 4 alternates. I won't read them all, they're outlined in facts and findings number 6. Staff recommends approval of the list as it is presented.
Any questions or discussions?
Make a motion to approve the list the staff has recommended.
Motion to approve this list of staff as recommended is made by Mr. Roach, second by Mr. Kiefer. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Carries. Item number 9, consideration to approve commissioner and staff travel for Effingham Day at the Capitol in Atlanta. Yeah, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the travel to Atlanta.
Motion to approve travel to Atlanta, made by Mr. Roach, second Mr. Floyd. I know that's alternative number 1 as well. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Carries. Consideration to approve the Crooks travel for the Georgia Crooks Institute at Jekyll Island. Alternative 1 was approved.
I make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Alternative 1, motion by Mr. Roach, second Mr. Roper. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Stephanie, give another vacation.
I actually wrap up my last class for my master's.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Item number 11, new business consideration to approve the 2019 local maintenance improvement grant for the mid project list and authorize the chairman to sign the big application.
Yes, sir, the list has been circulated and been tweaked a bit. It's now 19.32 miles, about 11 of that is resurfacing, about 8 of that is just pure striping. The total value, the total estimate is about $1.8 million. We should get $922,000 in the big grant, 30% match. We put the total project at about $1.2 million, so we're actually submitting more than needed. However, since I'd like to propose one change, the last item on the list, which is Old Augusta Road restriping, that's the 8.4 miles of restriping from Highway 21 to Ebenezer Road, that we found out that is itemized separately in the budget already as a SPOS project at $110,000. And since we're over anyway on the list, propose carving that out from this big list and going ahead with that project as a separate bid item and moving on to that. And we're going to be over anyway, we're going to have to pay for it anyway,
So we have money appropriated this year's budget.
$110,000.
Because I know
This is bad shape.
So propose this list with that modification and move forward with the striking on Old Augusta.
Mr. Chairman, I want to bring attention, disclosure on the Citrus Ferry, 2.3 miles. I actually live on that road. I live on one end of the road. The road is being submitted for resurfacing is at the other end of the road where I live. I started to take this road off the list because I live on it, but then I thought about it. I don't want to penalize people in my area just because I was elected to office. But this is a very bad stretch of road, just patch upon patch, and it definitely needs attention.
Needs to be resurfaced.
Yes.
I don't think there's any conflicts, just as you put a village rate increase or decrease, it's the same thing. We live in this area. It's not a business we're involved in, so I appreciate you bringing that to
Yes.
That was really kind.
Disclosure there.
But I don't see any conflict. I appreciate that. So I guess the motion they're asking for is to approve the mid list with the removal of the Old Augusta
Yes, sir.
and move forward with doing that under our general fund budget appropriations. Did you get that?
Yes, sir.
Splash
If you want to just say so moved.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Deloach. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And Steve, you said you had a motion clear?
Yes, sir, I did.
Very good.
Appreciate you bringing that up, Chris.
Yes, sir, thank you for reminding me.
Item number 12, under new business, consideration to approve a revised agreement between Effingham County Board of Commissioners and Bullock County for the mental health and drug court for the Judicial Circuit.
Fiona Charlton, purchasing agent. board approved an intergovernmental agreement in July for an accountability court, which is a combined drug and mental health treatment court. The Bullock County manager saw the need for a more comprehensive agreement. One was drawn up which does not make any substantive changes, but goes into greater detail with regard to how the court is held accountable. On a side note, the Ogeechee Judicial Circuit Superior Court Judge Michael T. Muldrew has advised the court is growing rapidly and that lives are being positively impacted through the support of the Board of Commissioners through this agreement. The county attorney has reviewed and approved the contract and funding remains the same. Therefore, staff recommends alternative number 1. Any
Michael's a
questions?
great judge, and I just think to him, he's really excited about what's happening in people's lives through this court. So.
Make a motion to approve order number 1, second.
Motion, Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Loach, to approve alternate number 1. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And it carries.
Thank you.
The last item on the business is consideration to approve the second reading of an ordinance lowering the speed limit on Old Augusta Road, Central from State Route 275 to the property line of Georgia Power Plant in McIntosh.
Yes, sir, just a second reading as required by ordinance.
Yeah, this is the second reading, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we have a motion to approve the second
Make
reading.
a motion to approve the second reading.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second Mr. Loper, to approve second reading. The reason we don't have to have discussion, we had a hearing last time.
Right, just says first reading, that's what it was.
Was it second reading?
It says what?
First reading.
Sure.
My agenda says second reading, but does the agenda item say first?
It says approve first reading ordinance.
Maybe it's on
It
staff
does, and
report.
the alternative one, it says approved at first reading.
Second reading. Second
So,
reading.
Well, my motion included.
to approve the second reading, I'll alternative one, so we're good. All in favor of approving the second reading, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And it
I
carries.
didn't vote on that. I accused myself of being employed Georgia Power and that next week last meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So make a
I didn't understand why they wanted to change that one little piece of road there, but it don't matter. I don't care.
I'm not.
It only affects them, I don't know why either.
We got a-
Let's see a reason.
we got-
They leave it.
They have we've got a large outage, starting in March, I believe, we're going to have a ton of traffic in and out of there. They seem to think that would help people approaching the guard gate if they can slow down. That was the
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Coach, I do business tonight, so we'll move to staff reports. Chris, we'll begin with our administrator. You got anything?
I don't have anything, unless y'all have any questions.
Okay. Stephanie, do you have anything that you'd like to share with us this evening, staff report?
I don't want to go through it all. You have the page in your notes. Actually, you don't. Sorry. Take one and pass it down.
Take one down, pass it around. While you're passing that around, do you have any comments? If not,
Yeah, I'll just say,
Take it right there.
there's some information in the packets in regards to capital cost and recovery fees given to you by the finance director. She just wants you to look over it and maybe consider some adjustments in the fees and then advise staff on how you would like to move forward. Yes. There's also your financial summary for November 2018. Christie, did I miss anything on that last one?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It includes the cost recovery fees, the ERU calculations, the water and sewer rate comparisons, and reuse water comparisons.
This will look at our warehousing as well, that we've been asking about. Okay, so
Yes.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All of that's included in that material.
Yeah.
We got your EOM monthly report, a reminder about Effingham Day for those who are attending. The schedule is outlined. There is a comprehensive plan meeting that's being hosted by the Department of Community Affairs. That meeting is on January the 7th at 10 o'clock here in this building. Swearing-in ceremony is this Thursday for Commissioners Burdette, Kiefer, and DeLoach at the Judicial Complex. And Janice Bevel, as you all are probably aware, is retiring in January after 38 years of service with the county. So we're planning, along with the tax assessor's office, to have a reception for her on January the 18th, which is a Friday, from 3 to 5 p.m. And that will be included on your calendar.
Sounds good. We could institute one bill tax increase in her honor.
Yeah, I like it. That's all I have.
Anything for the staff?
before I leave, was mention about surplus.
You might need to come to the
Yeah.
microphone.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
I think everybody, as well as we can hear in here, the audio picks it up so much clearer than speaking.
At the last board meeting, Commissioner, I believe it was Commissioner Kiefer, mentioned about surplusing the other piece of land that we have along 21 at the rec park. One piece has already been surplused that was going to be from McDonald's. So that's surplus, so we can do, once we figure out what's going on there, what we want with that. The other parcel is 3.6 acres. If you'd like me to bring it to the next meeting to surplus it, and then we can decide, well, you can direct us as to what you'd like us to do with it. And also, if you would like me to, I can go through all of the property that we have, that the board own, and put it together for you so you can decide which pieces of property you'd like to surplus and perhaps sell.
That's a great idea, because I have a couple that we've had questions about that the county owns, and I have no idea why we own them. And there's interest in a sale, and then there's interest in someone obtaining easement through one of our parcels, so that'd be.
So I can put all that together, but
That'd be excellent.
the property at the rec centre, would you like me to bring that to surplus at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because once it's surplus, we can
Then we can.
do what you want. Thank you.
Okay. I'll say mine to you, and I'll go around the room, Mr. Lovely, everything.
I'm fine, if we get, Old Augusta Road striped, I'm good.
I think Mr. Dan's moving on that one as we speak. He's thinking about when he can get to do it.
All right, that's all I have.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
I have a few items, I'll make them fast. Says either called me and wanted me to meet because he knew I was on the Veterans Park Board, but apparently the hospital has approached him and he didn't know where to turn, wanting to install a chain link fence between the hospital. Are you kind of somewhat familiar with this?
I wrote over there with, yeah.
Okay. I went and looked at it with him, we just need to make sure we protect the park and what our options are there. Has it gone any further, or?
They have inmates at the hospital, apparently, patients.
Yeah.
They come visit, and they want to make sure that they're contained.
That's right.
So the fence.
Anyway, that may be something there.
Is that something that they should put up?
Oh, yeah. But they want to do it on the county property.
So we just need to agree to that.
To a degree, it's feasible if it's done right,
Yeah.
but there's the dock, that dock.
You want to keep a walkway from the main access to the yard.
Yeah.
So maybe the answer is,
Wetland.
you know, let them put some thoughts to,
It'll be somewhat of a privacy, and I don't know. The view from the hospital back over is beautiful, right, looking up the park.
My mother-in-law was in that last room, my dad ever lived.
Really? Nice.
A long time, 4 months. Yeah.
Also, I met with CJ Chance with Pussy Gay Mill and Brant Herndon regarding the spray, moving forward with the spray field options on the research forest track. Went well. I believe CJ's already sent an email out, Dan may have been copied on that, just some initial exhibits to start that process again.
Dan, would that be on our discussion for Friday morning?
Yes.
Okay, I'll probably mention while we're here at 10 o'clock Friday morning, I'm meeting with DOM. I'd like to know if anybody wants to meet with me about it.
Friday morning?
Friday morning, 10, one of our project list again.
Okay.
And so tonight before you go, I just want to make sure we don't have more than 3. Do we need to announce we have, or we just need to
I
announce?
can't, I'm going Christmas shopping, so I don't know what we're going to do.
Not necessarily, we're meeting about it every week and a half just to stay.
What time?
10 o'clock.
I can't go this Friday.
That's fine. Last week, we were just trying to stay on our projects, see where we are. So, but we'll make it late in the week, if you want to kind of speed of where we are on some of these items.
And one more item, and I would ask Kristen, but she's not here. I sent her an email about an address on McCall Road, 2309 McCall Road. Ditch was back. Did I copy you on that email, Stephanie, or not? Probably didn't. I tried to, but sometimes I forget. I believe it's in Commissioner Loper's district.
Where is that?
2309 McCall Road. I think it's near, maybe, I don't know if it's near Ron Station or Ralph Ron. I'm pretty sure it's your district.
That's all.
I don't know how he, but I went ahead and tried to forwarded on, but apparently there may be some culverts that are backing up. Anyway.
Are the culverts on the call?
Yes, they are.
Okay, if you'll send me an email on that,
I'll forward you the one I sent to Kristen.
okay. Well, if Kristen has it tonight, I'll like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So, and it may be being handled, I just hadn't heard.
Well, it's probably been sent to Clyde. If you probably sent it to Kristen and then she sent it to Clyde and he was, kind of new bambino.
That's probably it. Didn't know that.
But they'll move it on down.
Sure.
Yeah, it'll get taken care of.
That's all I have.
All the rain, I'm surprised they don't have more than that.
Any voices? Don't everybody groan at once, but ash roads. First of all, Herbert Kessler Road, I don't know if we've done a study on that one.
There's a long story
Up
there.
to a point, I don't know if we have a study that we could do something about that one, it's in bad shape. But what I'm seeing is a trend, and you guys have probably already seen this, I just don't know how to handle this, so putting this out for wisdom, this might be a Newberry question, I don't know. I'm seeing the pattern of, okay, we approved development to go up, and it's fine, we're supposed to do that. But how are we considering the transportation getting out of these new developments? And Herbert Kessler is a really good example of that, because you've got, I don't know, like 50 roofs something out there. And actually out there originally is no big deal. You've got 5 houses, a couple of, there's not a lot of traffic. When you put 50 rooftops out there, all of a sudden you got a lot bigger problem, and every time we repair it, have to go back and repair it again, repair it again, repair it again. If you couple that with weather, you got an even bigger problem. And we've seen that all over the county. Is there something that we can put in place to where we look at some of these traffic patterns when people get 200 rooftops approved, that would either involve the developer or involve the taxpayers moving out there? Because what happens is we do this, it gets approved, it goes in, and then it's on the burden of every other taxpayer in the county that people live in these areas. And I just don't know if there's something else we can do to help prevent that, to help maybe fund some of that at the onset of the development, rather than catching it in the end of it like we're doing now. Because these people look at the house, they love the house, they move in, and you're down the road's terrible. And then we get the complaints. The developer sold out, he's moved on. Not to penalize the development, but the county keeps carrying the burden of that over and over and over.
We have been discussing, Herbert Kessler Road for 14 years, I know of.
I know that's a rough spot.
And we get involved in it, and there'll be a hot subject for a while, and it dies down, and a year or so later, it comes up again. So that's been in the clouds for a long time.
There's actually money set aside to do work on the road with this.
Well, we've had some discussion right away in a certain area.
If we go up to a certain point, there's still a right-of-way issue up to that development, we do something up to that. Does that part of the because they don't really care about going right.
Well, that's true, that's all, yeah.
So if we could do something to help that, we're not repairing it, we're again, tearing up their cars and all that stuff. But even a bigger story is, we do something ahead of time in the future to prevent some of this. Instead of just looking at somebody developing property, how are these people going to get out of their house? How are they going to do this work?
Keys blocks.
Maybe that's the answer. I don't know. I just wanted to.
Some of those subdivisions, when they were created, everybody thought it was.
Yeah,
That's part of the problem. And now we know it's not.
And I've seen it come up, at other board meetings where people come up and present. And this was fine, working good. Now everybody's using this as I forgot what they call it. As a road to get from one place to another, since this new development, and it's an ash road. It's beat up again. It's just happening over and over and over again. And then the taxpayers in these certain locations, all over, no matter where you live.
Mr. Dan, you got some comments?
That's good, Mike.
Please, sir.
we have things in our ordinance that say, if you're gonna build a subdivision, then you have to look downstream to see what changes you're making in the stormwater patterns and things like that. We also we have to do traffic studies to see how it's going to affect whether or not you have to put a turn lane in, a decel, an accel lane. And we might want to look into changing, making an addendum to our ordinance, which Lee can talk a lot more about that than I can, but to see what we would have to do to say, if you're going to go in and build a subdivision on an unapproved road, then you need to tell us how many cars a day you're going to have through there, and then we can assess them to help support doing what improvements need to be done to the roads.
The road support for development.
Right. It's part of the cost of development.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think that's in our ordinance now, but it might be something you'd want to consider doing, or just, we can look into it and see,
Yes, sir.
or someone can.
That would be great.
It's funny, on some of the subdivisions like that, the quality of the roads that we require the developer to put in are better than the roads that the county.
Right, and one of those is Long Pond Road.
There you
But
go.
that-
Perfect example. Perfect example.
Yeah, but we don't want to add to the situation, because we got to get those roads up to standard inside.
Sure.
There's going to be some, obviously, things we're going to need to look at now, because I'm going to speak up for the developers now. If you got a mile stretch, and you could have several subdivisions on both sides, it doesn't seem appropriate for that developer to pay that whole mile stretch. The next developer comes in, it's been paid, so every how we think about it, we need to think about how that cost can be divided, more appropriately, so that one person doesn't have a $5 million bill for building a roadbed and each.
And that may be something.
And you come along and build 40 houses outside, you get the benefit of it.
But, if you have an assessed value of, just around $100,000 to improve this road, and there's potential for other things, maybe that developer pays a portion of that, and then he's good for it. We get that developed, we're going to end up doing it anyway. There's got to be a way to do it.
It's much like water and sewer.
Well, that's correct. You have to, you pay for the section that is in front of however much land distance across the front of frontage that you have on the road in the water and sewer. That's the assessment that you get. And that's the way in other places that I've been, that's the way that they do it on road work is you need to come up with enough money to support the footage that you have on that highway.
Yeah, but that may cause to do that is have a special service tax district, so if that developer, if there's a mile stretch and there's so much road, this first developer will pay their share, but the next guy that comes up, we've got a special tax district assessment as they want to build or do anything.
Yes.
They'll pay at the time, that might be a way.
And just from other places, we go in and do the road, but we get the assessment from that person for what it costs to do their half of the road for the length that they had out from the center line over.
Right.
And then when the next guy comes in over here, he pays an assessment from the center line over for how much it costs to, or a percentage of how much it costs to develop that part of that road.
The difficulty is when it may come up where there's 4 miles that'll never be developed.
That's true.
Well, and then it falls on us as a county, us,
Exactly.
to support our constituents that are there. I mean, that's what we do a lot of. I mean, that's a lot of what we do.
And that's the hard part of it. We end up with the bill anyway.
Just making it everything equitable.
I think that's a good thing.
Just me on a personal note, I got a piece of land, there's a county road ends. If I want to develop it, I got to build the road. It's on me. So if I want to develop that, that's on me as a developer. That's just the way it is. So I have to look at that cost. Is that cost worth it? If it is, I do it.
Just one more quick word on T-SPLOS. We've got some folks coming the first meeting in February to talk to us about that.
Very good.
Thank you.
No, it's been a good year, looking forward to next year.
Next four.
We'll get all that stuff
You
done
got
this
4
year.
more years, man.
Oh, that's right.
You would put this last
And
time?
you're on the same rotation.
Okay,
Getting ready.
that's right. You know, I was one of
So they're saying this is our last meeting. It's been a good year. I think we accomplished a lot.
Hopefully a lot more in 2019. Real quickly, it's probably about time, Chris, for more than activating to come talk to us about where we are on the right of ways as a board. You can get an update. I know I get hit by Jack and John will Jack every time I see him about what's taking so long. I think it'd be good to let them know that we're listening and watching and representatives. They haven't been here a while to talk to us about that parkway. And if we don't watch it, it's going to be, middle of 2019, we're going to be still getting right away. And the other thing that comes to my mind is they said they want us to go ahead and move forward a contract and mediate the rice area. Is that ready?
There's bad language back and forth with GDOT in Atlanta, and I call them about every day.
Okay, because that's the one item we're looking at. We have to have a call meeting just to get somebody to approve it because they know that in place.
I think it's just an RFP. We get it out. I think we have authority. If you want to sit on ready, just send it out.
Okay.
Get it going, but we're waiting on GDOT, but I push them every day.
Very good.
It's not doing any good, but do it.
We'll keep pushing. We'll get that parkway done. On that too, our engineers are going to meet with Savannah and see if they can come up with some resolve on the independent parkway before we try to get to the involved on this and see if they can do something. So that's good.
So, Mr. Chairman, back to Moreland, are you saying that you want them to come in January?
They just need to be back in June sometime in the next, meeting or 2 or 3, whatever. Just, I want to make sure we're moving, and I think sometimes they think we're on top of it.
It may be better before Effingham Day at the Capitol.
Yeah, it would be good. January would be good.
So we should do it on the 15th.
Because they're going to ask us about that. Where are you going to do right away? We need to be able to say, this is where we're at, we're 90% done, we got this, and we just need to be aware of that.
So you will ask Chris to come on the 15th?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're not doing the train depot here this year. I did not see that on the agenda, so.
I met this week with all the cities trying to get a service delivery strategy in place. I prepared all the forms and then I gave them to Brett, had him go through and correct the grammar and tweak it. And then met with the cities and did the stipulation agreement so that it complies with what we're doing right now. And I know I've got some things I want to look at, you guys can make that change. But Brett's trying for their city to get a grant and they have to have a current SDS agreement. Everybody at that meeting was agreeable that we come back. I told them we would take the lead as the county, we issue a letter in March to get us back to the table to, relook at the whole agreement, fire, water, sewer, everything. But you should have that email. We'll have it tonight, I think, only that you can take home with you, look it over. We don't need to approve it until the meeting in January, second of January, check it.
One thing we need to be mindful of when we're landing this year is the 2 o'clock meeting with GDOT. I know 2 o'clock seems like plenty of time after lunch, but I think last year we were pretty much coming in on 2 wheels at GDOT at 2 o'clock because that lunchtime meeting, it was great having all the speakers there, but I know that kind of got tricky on timing. I know it's a long way away, but we'll be here real quick.
So we'll have because we definitely want to cover it. And then we talked about going ahead and getting a proposal out for Southern Grandview, the proposal from agents, so we're working on that.
I'll start working on that.
Okay. That's huge for us, I think.
Yeah.
Sure. I'd love to have a RFP for us to approve, review, everything we can do. Let's just get those out and so we can look at a qualified agent to help us get the best, highest price for them.
He always got a draft ready.
You got that already?
I sent it to me, yeah.
Very good. Just want to talk on that. Other than that, I probably should bring an update on the Atlas discussions we had. I'm not sure if we had, but deal with personnel, we need to talk about opportunity for something. So we got 10 minutes for a brief, unless you got, anybody else got besides me for executive session? Well, if we get a motion in executive session for, this would be for legal, property acquisition, and personnel.
Make a motion to go into executive session, discuss personnel, property, and litigation.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Roper, for executive session. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no.
You get what you need, man. I got 3 old sisters.
Yeah, there's nobody here.